Hello, this is Pastor Goodman, and this video blog is sort of for the leaders within my church. It could be the leaders within any church, but every now and then we just need a brief lesson to remind us that with leadership comes responsibility. Now, one of the things that I do quite often is to read short blogs of other well-known pastors in the country. One of those pastors is Ron Edmondson. And he had a blog recently that I just want to share with you and briefly discuss. It's called The 10 Harsh Realities of Leadership. And within that blog, he lists 10 things that I briefly just want to highlight and get you as a church leader to think about. The first thing he says is, as a leader, there will be times when you are unpopular. If you haven't experienced that already, you need to be prepared for that. Because if you are in a position of leadership, you will be called upon to make some tough decisions, to make some decisions that will bring about change maybe. And in any time there's change, especially in a church, someone is likely to be upset. And you are likely to take a dip in popularity. Secondly, you're going to have to make decisions that no one else will make. That's why the nominations committee felt that you were the right person for the job. We believe that you were the one that God laid on our hearts to lead in whatever position that you accepted. And by accepting, then you agreed to make decisions. You agreed that sometimes you would have to make those kinds of decisions that, will make you unpopular, as I said in the first one. That may even cost you a rift in a friendship for a little while. But in a church, as in any kind of organization, sometimes leaders have to make those decisions that no one else will make. Oftentimes, as the pastor, I have to be the final arbiter of those kinds of decisions, but somewhere along the way, there's a good chance that you, as the leader of a committee or team, will have to make those decisions as well. Thirdly, as a leader in a church, according to Ron, and I agree with these things, you have to be able to see farther than today. A church is not just a momentary slice in time. A church is an organization that is living and breathing and growing, and we have to learn to look further ahead. We have to anticipate where God might be calling us. We have to be able to try to understand what the future might be for us in terms of ministry and mission and outreach and finances and membership and all these kinds of things. And so it's important to be able to see further than just today, and maybe even learn to leverage the influence you have on something that's happening today that'll make a big difference further down the road. Fourth, Ron says and suggests that you won't be successful for very long if you simply make excuses. Admit it. I admit it. I've made mistakes. I've made wrong calls. I've interpreted things in the wrong way. And as a leader in the church, there's a good chance that at some point you're going to make those kind of mistakes too. You're going to choose the wrong path. You're going to say the wrong thing. But you can't make excuses. You can't throw somebody else under the bus, is a phrase I love. You've got to be willing to take responsibility for those mistakes. Fifthly, you can learn to motivate people, but you can't mandate people. If all it took was the ability of me as the pastor to issue mandates to make the church work, we would have a church that would be blossoming and flourishing. But it's not about mandates. It's instead about motivating. It's about influencing. It's about being able to find the right person to do the right thing at the right time so that he or she will be able to grow in their own leadership abilities, but maybe you can walk along beside them and mentor them and motivate them to do what needs to be done. And so as a leader, that's one of the things that you have to consider. Another thing you've got to consider as a leader is that you're only going to be as good as your team. You may be the best leader in the world, but if you have a team of people around you that just don't get the job done, or just doesn't get the job done, then you're not going to flourish as a leader for long. You'll end up doing it all yourself, and that's not leading. That's sometimes called sacrificing yourself for the cause. Ron also suggests that your legacy will mostly be formed by the investment that you have made in others as a leader. I think maybe he's talking more to pastors there, but as individuals who are leading, people will remember the decisions that were made under your tenure. They're going to be remembering it not necessarily by what happened, but by the fact that you have helped to form a group of people, your team, your board, your committee, in such a way that that committee was able to produce results that changed people's lives. You will be remembered by your ability to invest the time in other people to help them become better, so that in turn they can help others become better and the kingdom of God can grow. This next one speaks directly to me. As a leader, you're never going to be able to avoid conflict indefinitely. To be honest, I don't like conflict. I don't know very many people that do like conflict. But conflict is a part of the life of a pastor, and it's also, I think, the part of the life of a person that is in a leadership role in a church. Decisions have to be made. Directions have to be chosen, and sometimes we step on other people's toes. And so we have to learn to overcome our sense of wanting to avoid conflict and realize that at some point, instead of avoiding it, we've got to deal with it. Quit pushing it aside, quit sweeping it under the rug, just deal with the elephant that's in the room, as they say, and then move on. I think you'll find that once you deal with those issues that are underlying and simmering beneath the surface, that as a leader you will be freed then to do even better things. Finally, Ron suggests, and I suggest this as well, you can't neglect your soul for very long. You have got to be, as the leader of the church, someone that seeks to grow in your relationship with God. You have to want to read the scriptures, which is hard at times. You have to want to pray, which sometimes is difficult as well. You have to want to engage in the life of the community, which is the church and the community around us. You have to want to do the things in terms of service, in terms of spiritual growth that will make you stronger as an individual, that will nourish your soul. Because if you don't nourish your soul, you will find that you will lose the passion that you might have had for leading, because God is just not there anymore, and you're trying to do it all on your own. Those are some pretty good ideas that Ron Edmondson has provided for us, and I hope that you will think about these ideas, and that you will look at one or two of them and see them as areas perhaps of growth in your own life, and believe that as you learn to get better at some of those things, your ability to lead will get better. And as you learn to be a better leader, our church will be strengthened. So I encourage you to take these things to heart and see where God might be leading you as you seek to serve God's kingdom through your position of leadership in the local church. God bless and have a good day, and I hope to see you in church on Sunday.